and welcome to the Bulletin. Today, we will be discussing a topic that is at heart of leadership and success, decision making.
Decision making is the cornerstone of effective leadership. It is what sets leaders apart from the rest, and it is the foundation upon which great organizations are built.
Leadership is not just about having a vision, it's about taking action to make that vision a reality, and that requires the ability to make decisions. So tonight, we will be exploring the different aspects of decision making in leadership.
So, sit back, relax, and join us as we delve into the world of decision making and leadership and discover why it is so crucial for success. In this long-time running segment, we have been nurtured, inspired, and motivated. Let us all welcome the inspiration and the face behind the Bulletin, no other than our operations manager, Tina Campado. Welcome, OM.
Wow, such a great introduction. Thank you for that. So this is how it feels to be interviewed in this segment. I'm so nervous, but of course, very excited. So thank you.
That's great. This is the first time ever. This segment has been long time running, but this is the first time that you have been interviewed, isn't it?
Yes, I was an interviewer the first time. I think twice. But this is the first time I get to be interviewed by you guys.
This particular segment, OM, really evolved. It was supposed to be just for engagement initially, isn't it? And then from there, it evolved as an inspiration to leaders, and then it evolved to motivating at the same time those team members who are aspiring to be.
And I'm very happy for that, kasi I know that in terms of reach, we're able to communicate with our team members using this platform. So I'm very much excited for this edition. I get to be interviewed and share my insights as well.
So let's go on and proceed with our segment for today. So, Ems?
Sure. All right, so let's start with why does decision making an integral skill for any leadership role?
Very interesting that, kind of scary as well to answer your questions, because I know that it's not only the decision maker, but the one who will be affected by these decisions plays a role in this entire scheme of things, right? So as a leader, it's really important that in terms of making decisions, so whether you decide on the smallest detail or the more critical items, know that it could impact not just the person, but on a team level, on a program level, and of course, as an organization. A simple decision will, affect the lives of the team members. So, for instance, deciding whether, as a team leader, you decide, as simple as deciding on what to say to team members, asking permission to be out for the day. So you have to really think thoroughly about it, decide if you really click on that button and send that message. So being decisive, you have to consider a lot of things. No? You could be emotional at that point in time. What will happen to my absenteeism? What will OM tell you? What will the team tell you? So a lot of things. And then, it could really affect the future of that team member. So very simple, as that is my example, it's very critical that you weigh you think about the future.
Yes.
You just don't decide on things based on emotions, based on what's the condition right now. It's all about how it will impact the future of that team member, and also taking into consideration the teams. It's very, very critical, very not that simple.
Great, moving on to the next question. How do you handle conflicts and differing opinions while making decisions in a team setting?
You know that you will handle people with diverse knowledge. Definitely have to take into consideration when deciding, a lot of factors. But as a leader, how do I manage conflict? Of course, it's very important that you hear them out because it's not 100% that you favor just one person and the other person. It's always a combination of the idea of this individual plus the idea of the other individuals within the team, right? Because having a safe place for them to share their thoughts would lessen the conflict within a team setting.
What I got from that, OM, is as a decision maker, it's really crucial to be a mediator and to create safe space between two parties so we can create a fair judgment or a fair decision for the both of the parties. And so that way, what I get from there is that we can effectively collaborate and create a better result, I suppose.
Thank you so much for that wonderful and inspirational message, OM. All right, so what I have here is that how do you involve your team in the decision-making process and ensure that they buy in to the decision made?
Alright, so that's very important because, as a leader or at my level, I have to decide on things that are critical for the entire program, not just for one team, but critical for the entire program that, of course, would affect the organization as a whole. And how do I, pass that on to my team leaders? Of course, it's very important that they feel empowered. I mean, not all the time you get to give solutions to all of their questions because there's a lot. Tons of it every day. I receive a lot of, not really questions, but scenarios. What I would do, very practical, is that, I ask the team leader, perhaps, okay, if you were me, what will you do? Because in that example, you're giving that confidence, empowerment, and at the same time, guiding your team leader, right? You can always say, okay, no, I think this is, we can do better here. So create situations, create scenarios, challenge your team leaders, challenge your team members, because in the BPO setting, there's no one single, formula for each situation because we're dealing with people, a lot of scenarios, a lot of factors would come into play. Then you want to equip your team leaders to be empowered on deciding. You do not want your people to be too dependent on you. It's also something that would lead the success of that team member.
All right, so allow me to say this as my takeaway. We just say, actually, that is also important when you have the skills, the ability, the knowledge. When you say pass it on, I think it is also important when, as a leader, you have the power to influence because that's how it's being passed to the next people looking forward on our position. So yeah. What we have next?
Yes, just to add on with that, I remember one of our one-on-one coaching, you said that it is very important that you have genuine care with the team members. Because when you have that, sometimes us, like as a mother, sometimes you have to discipline the kids, right? And so that's it at the same time. What I got from what you have shared, was as as a decision maker, you are, and to get their buy-in, you have to involve them in the process and also at the same time, to just have that genuine care with them.
Alright, so Ems, just before we close, this is a great conversation.
Great.
What are your takeaways?
My takeaway, I think it is important once you identify your strength being being a leader. It is also important to pass it on. So that simply comes up into my mind the importance of passing it to the next one.
Right. As for me, it's the decision-making process, right? More often than not, I, as a team leader in my team, would, somehow, yes, would really practice listening to both parties before coming up into a decision, right? It's just sometimes it's challenging, so to speak, right? Because you kind of like, as OM said earlier, you're kind of like, sometimes you have to take a step back and then think. You cannot like involve yourself in that particular situation per se because you have to remain objective with the decision that you will be making. That's one. Next would be what was that? To get the buy-in, right? So it will all boils down to you being involved. I suppose, no? We really have to be advocates of change, no? As OM mentioned earlier, as a decision maker, or as a decision maker, it would help you really progress, not just someone that's working as a TN or whatever it is as your job title, but as an individual as well. So those are the things that I suppose resonates to me the most. So thank you OM for your time once again for this learning session, I would say, and we have a lot of takeaways.